And this is kind of pulls all the pieces together. And you're going to see in it kind of a marriage of the stuff from the car using the same words of vision, relationship, ministry or activity, and then structure. And a lot of you are familiar with concepts of life cycles and just the bell curve on how that stuff works. But I want to just kind of talk to you about it, and I want to give it to you as something that maybe you can use in evaluating your own congregations as well as your own circuits. Okay, because this is kind of what's behind this ultimately. So, with different phases, different stages in an organization's life cycle, we have the birth phase. I want you to note that it has high V and high R. What does that mean? Here's the little words that go with it. High vision, where are we going, who's going with us, what do we offer, and what do we control? When an organization is birthed, when a church is birthed, somebody's got an idea, and if you're all by yourself as a birthing, planting pastor, you're going to have to build some relationships or you got nothing, right? That's organization. The same thing's true for a business. Same thing's true for a school. Same thing's true for any type of organizational system where there has to be a birth moment, okay? And when that happens, it's high vision, high relationship. Now, as it grows, you begin to add product, you begin to add activity, you begin to add ministry, you begin to add function. But you notice that we've added structure, but what is structure at this point? A big S or a little s? Yeah, it's a little s. Because we don't want it to control what the Spirit might be doing in this moment. We want to give as much freedom in this moment for development. Because as soon as we start trying to control it, what do we start doing to the life of it? Sucking it out. Now, notice with me where the healthiest moment is in an organizational system. It's prime. Is it on the upslope, plateau, or downslope? I mean, I'm just asking stupid questions. I know it's on the upslope. The healthiest moment in an organization is when it's always advancing. Always advancing. When we hit maturity, that's a plateau. That's where vision is no longer as important. That's where we're kind of looking back and go, hey, remember 3 years ago when we had that stuff going on? We're still pretty cool. But vision doesn't have the edge on it that it used to. And we're all about relationships because we're enjoying this ride. This is kind of fun. Isn't it? It's the moment at the top of the roller coaster when you're at the top of the hill. And you kind of go, okay, something's about ready to happen. There's high relationship. You're grabbing hold of the person you don't know who's next to you and digging your fingernails into their arm. Because Kathy likes to go fast. I don't, okay, if you were here last night. And down the hill you go. Now, decline is already just the first step down the hill. We want to redefine that, and we don't want it to sound so harsh. But decline is the first step down the hill. And notice what's happened at that point. Vision's gone. And the relationship's not quite so important anymore. Because right now, as we're declining, we're going, yeah, but look what we do. Look at the product that we provide. Look how we're serving people. Okay? And then you have old age. Notice there's stuff that's missing. Vision's missing. Relationships missing. And now we're starting to go, you know what? I've turned the corner. I've become Dan and Bring. I'm ready to retire now. And life is changing. I think I'll go hang out at Starbucks this morning. You're going to regret you said that to me. I apologize, my brother. He was my first ever circuit visitor, so I have a love relationship with this guy. He's a good man. And thank you for your service. Can we just thank Richard and all of our retired guys? Thank you guys for your service to us. Many years as vice president of our district, too. And then you notice what's the only capital left at this point is structure. Because now I'm trying to hold on what I got left. Now I'm trying to hold on to what I got left. Because now I'm developing fear of loss. And then the final death is kind of a beep, little pipsqueak kind of structure. There's not much left. And the last people, the 12 that are gathered, say, we're here, we're going to bury each other, and the last one's going to turn the lights out. That's too true. Now, how do we interrupt a life cycle so that we keep change going? That's the point where you want to evaluate your organization and say, I need to introduce change here. It's counterintuitive. Normally we think we want to introduce change at these points. When, well, people are going to see a need now. You got to help them see the need and understand this stuff so that they're you're introducing change. You're introducing a new life cycle. I mean, it's like laying a whole nother life cycle on top of it, but that it develops at this point at prime. This point at prime is where you want it. And the idea organizationally is you have to enter at that point what's called the tunnel of chaos. And you have to invite your organization into this moment when it doesn't feel right that we don't think we should be doing this now because everything is, man, this is the best we've ever been. And now you want to bring change? And this is where you need to be very, very high R. High relationships, so you're taking the time to teach the principles and help people understand. This is where you need bring your brilliant people of your congregation who understand business and for some reason check their business brains at the front door when they're handed a bulletin on a Sunday morning. Invite them to engage and to teach this stuff as true. I'm not saying church is business, but we have first article realities. And I'm watching you guys. You're taking pictures of these screens because you know you live it. And you know, and you're already saying, where am I at in the organizational life cycle? Oh my goodness, I missed the change moment. Well, then step in and work on one. So here's this idea of life cycle intervention. Still the same kind of stuff, and so the idea that when you hit this point, it's time to revision. Because notice what the first thing is about ready to happen when you plateau. You go from big V to little v. So it's time for a revitalized vision. It's the revisioning. You have to bring a new vision, a fresh vision, okay, in order to see what God might want to do next. Then revitalization is happening at this point. A lot of times we think that's much further down the line, but it's not. I'll define some of these things in a second. And then reform is here. And then we're down here, you're really talking about rebirth or some sort of a radical change. Because if you're at that point, you're basically loving in the midst of hospice care. Hospice care is good. It's important. We get to love. We get to take time. But when we have done everything that can be done, right? That's what we have to be for the church. When we have done everything that we can do under the power of the Spirit, with us working together, the leadership that we can bring together collectively, then new things might happen. Now, revisioning, and this is a little tougher to see maybe, positive stuff is happening, but vision is waning. Plateau is imminent. New vision is needed to retain health and growth. Revision. It's right there at the part where we look the healthiest. Counterintuitive. Revitalize. The need for change is huge. You go, well, we're just kind of starting down the hill. No, it's huge right now because this is a moment of important intervention. Because once you start down the hill, how do you back up? Not very well. Health is slipping away and most are unaware. Leaders, that's us, are often in denial, and we don't know what to do to lead change. We just don't know. And so sometimes we just go, well, maybe it'll get better. And we put our heads in the sand sometimes. Third one is reform. Here's the definition or the reality. Significant intervention is needed. Fear rules the day now. Leadership and resources needed are often limited or gone. As often when I've gone into a congregation to provide some coaching along the way, and they're in a kind of a dire circumstance, as you talk to the people, you realize that most of their leaders left. And the people that are left are not leaders. And that's a tough one to recover from. Doesn't mean you can't. Got it? Power of the Holy Spirit, God's work. We all understand that. First article stuff. So that's where reform. So revision, revitalization, reform, and then rebirth. You know, Monty Python, you get a little bit of my sense of humor. I actually looked at the video on YouTube this morning of, but I'm not dead yet. And I realized it was just really too gross to play in this company, so. But I do entrust it to you. Just don't tell. Our new district president assigned us this task as a church council to watch. I'm not dead yet. I did not. Okay? But it's this idea, though, that a lot of times we look at, but we're not dead yet. There's 12 of us. We're not dead yet. I love the guy, by the way, in Monty Python, where he goes, well, when will you be back for more bodies? And he goes, next week. And the guy who's laying over his shoulder said, I'm not dead yet. I think I'll take a walk. And he hits him in the head with his club. But anyway. Laugh, right? It's important to laugh. What has to happen there? Radical, high-risk taking steps required. This is the place of redemptive death. This is the place that unless the seed falls to the ground, the life doesn't come forth. Oh. So, a new life cycle. The whole idea of a new life cycle is that if you're working at it and you're on top of it, this is as far as you ever go on the life cycle. Because every time you come to prime, you're introducing new change and a new revised, revitalized vision so that you just keep developing and growing. Because as soon as you plateau, you have the big M, the big mo momentum that's going to be harder to shift. This is the goal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's where we live. Most of us don't live there. Most of us live on one of these places. Now, one of the things as you look at this, Gary Norton, Gary, stand up for those who don't know you, would you please? This is Gary Norton of our staff, and he works in the area of revitalization. He's not a scary guy. He's a good guy. He's a loving guy. He helps your congregation work through evaluating where they're at on this stuff. I'm watching him, I'm talking, and he's just nodding his head like, yep, this is it. It's how it works. But see Gary, ask him for help, because you know where you're at. Remember that Heidelberg Disputation quote that I used the other day? I don't know if it comes up in this or not. But a good theologian doesn't mix theology of glory and theology of the cross. A good theologian, I think it's Heidelberg Statement 21, says, we see the truth and call it for what it is. This is good theology because it's first article stuff, and we live there too. There. So, I told you I was going to come back around for circuits. This idea of circuits organizing for mission. Where do you see your circuit's life cycle? What if you ask that question collectively? What if you met together as lay leaders? Remember, you need lay champions in this effort. Don't do it as a bunch of pastors alone. Because your lay people are just going to think you're trying to take over. Or you're going to try to change them without their participation. What you're trying to do if you're not involving your lay champions is you're skipping the relationship seat. Do not skip the relationship seat. What's there? Resourcing congregations. Are there those that are prime, or maybe they're at plateau, but they've got a lot of stuff to offer? How can we use them to assist over here? Right? How can we assist? Partnering, coaching, dual parish, merger, multi-site. I hope you see my questions and how it fits to my whole philosophy of leadership and the importance of what the seats in the car mean. Because this whole thing falls apart if you don't have the right seats, the right things in the right seat. It's kind of like good to great, right? You got the right people in the right seats on the right bus going the right direction. And this is very much that way too. What's the new thing that needs to be done together? Swim down together. Swim down together. See, it changes trajectory often when we can do that. When everything that has been done, can be done, has been done, then it's time for a new life cycle in some cases. And this was the idea and the question that I was asking, are there legacy congregations in our circuits that could be redemptive deaths for the sake of new plants, new work that begins a brand new high V, high R, small m, small s, first step, birth level of life cycle. Imagine what could be done if the legacy resources stayed in the circuits. You guys like that idea. I had a lot of people say, we like that one, right? But here's the idea for it. That it's in support as often as possible, right, for new work. If you're needing an infusion of cash in your congregation, that's not what my idea is. I just thought I'd get it out there before someone suggested that as an option. Committed relationship, long haul. Relationships. Relationship. And then the idea of pooling resources. Do you see how it fits? The whole principle. All of us seeing ourselves together. You need a Dory and you need a Nemo, right, to help lead the charge. Who will pick that up in your circuits? Who will do that? And then to think about the resources that we have. What's the district's role? Researching, coaching, permission giving, telling the story, and repeating. Those are my three things.